kill you for this.
For many, cars are simply a tool to get from point A to point B. But for others, such as myself, cars are so much more than that. And when one modifies their own car, they're creating something unique to themselves. Cars can be an extension of their owners, representations of their creativity, and can be so much more than a tool. They can be art. But this begs the question, can car modification be considered art? Art is difficult to define. According to the Oxford Dictionary, art is defined as, quote, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. This is a fair and commonly held definition of art. It fits into what one might see at art museums and street art festivals, but I believe art can be so much more. The definition that resonates with me most comes from Wikipedia. Wikipedia defines art as being, quote, a diverse range of human activity and resulting product that involves creative or imaginative talent expressive of technical proficiency, beauty, emotional power, or conceptual ideas. While it's not as conventional, there is an art form that I hold dear that falls well within this definition: car modification. This form of self-expression comes in many different forms. Just like painting, music, and literature, car modifications come in different genres. And like painting, music, and literature, each of these genres influence one another. These genres include Bosuzoku style, lowrider style, wide-body style, stance, racer style, Kia car style, time attack style, drift missile style, and so many others. These styles have their own motifs and languages that separates them into their respective genres. But why do people do this? Why do people put tens of thousands of dollars into vehicles that work perfectly fine? To help me answer this question, I asked 3 different people from around the world why they modify their cars, and surprisingly, they all gave me very similar answers. The first person I spoke to was a YouTube creator by the name of Milky Diamonds. He was born in England and lives in Japan, creating videos about the amateur drift circuit over there. I asked him a few questions about how art and cars relate to each other, and this is what he had to say. He also gave me permission to use some of his videos in my documentary, so thanks, Milky.
Like relating cars to art, I would see cars as a canvas to display art, and that doesn't just mean modifying them. That could be like how you race them, how you drive them, how you drift them. Every single person has a specific style, that the way that they do things. Like I've got a driving style that's different to, like, you know, another person's driving style, and like you can display your art through different methods using cars as the medium.
We spoke for around 30 minutes, and he really expanded on my initial thoughts of car modification as art and car modification as a whole and what it can do.
Why do you modify your car?
I modify my car so that I can increase my skill level to hit the cap of that modification, and then I'll look at other areas that I can modify to increase my skill level, because the thing I want to modify the most is my skill level. So the car and the modifications I do to it are just tools to help me grow.
Milky explained that car modification is both a method of self-expression and self-improvement. The modifications he had made to his car were both artistic and practical. It was at this point that I realized that there were 2 different types of car modification being discussed: internal and external. Internal modification refers to mods made to enhance the performance of the car and to serve a purpose, whether that be to race or improve one's driving. It includes things like turbochargers, roll cages, and suspension upgrades. Internal car modification is done so that your car can perform differently from the way you bought it. This does not always mean better, faster, or made for going radically off-road, just different. External mods refer to modifications made to change the appearance of the car and leans more towards self-expression. External car modification includes things like paint, seats, and neon underglow. These individual car mods act sort of like instruments to a song. People can apply them in a myriad of different ways, and people create their own genres, just like this very odd Scooby-Doo inspired Acura Integra. In order to fall into a specific genre, however, these individual external car mods need to be put together in a specific way that both expresses the owner's individuality whilst also fitting the common motifs of that genre. For example, this Mazda Miata is covered in Japanese characters, anime figures, and even has a body pillow. It sticks out like a sore thumb in the United States. But in Japan, it's a very common style called Itasha. The next person I interviewed was Joey Whitaker. Based out of South Carolina, Mr. Whitaker is another competitive drifter, junk car buyer, and owner of a dirt track in his backyard. After showing me his car collection for a glorious 10 minutes, we began to talk about his relationship with cars and where his passion came from.
Been into cars my whole life. I was raised around racing. My dad's raced since he was 17. My mom was big into cars, so I grew up around it. So it technically just rubbed off on me, and now it's an obsession and a lifestyle.
He has been surrounded by cars his whole life and has made it his living. When it comes to cars as art, he believes that the effort put into the modifications themselves is what makes them art, even if it looks like this.
There's plenty of things out there that I look at and go, nah, not my cup of tea, but I respect it because somebody put a lot of time in it, a lot of work, a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole squatted truck thing. I hate it. But the thing is, I've seen a bunch of these trucks. I get up close, I look them over, I'm like, you know, they're stripping every suspension component off. They're powder coating them. Mm-hmm. You know, as long as you do it right, it's respectable, you know?
In Joey's eyes, regardless of any car's current form or condition, there was always an opportunity to improve and make something brand new.
And that's how it is, man. You get a vision. You know, some people look at it and go, oh, that's junk. I look at it and go, well, there's a possible track car or a possible cruiser, you know.
Exactly.
You know.
So far, both Milky and Joey lean more towards the internal, practical aspects of car modification. But the last person I spoke to had a car that was anything but practical.
Okay, so real quick, what's your name?
Kyle Brandon.
Oh, Kyle Brandon, and what's your car?
It's a Suzuki Carry with a Pandem body kit on it.
For reference, this is an almost 30-year-old manual pickup truck with a steering wheel on the right side and 55 horsepower. To compare that, a Nissan Sentra today has around 130. Needless to say, it's not a very practical truck. Unlike Milky and Joey, I didn't plan to meet Kyle, but instead just bumped into him at an event a couple months ago. And even though it wasn't planned, the reason he modified his car was exactly what I've been looking for this entire time. And in the end, it all boiled down to because I wanted to.
You have a very unique kit that most people would not consider doing to a pickup truck. So, why?
I always wanted a Pandem, like a rocket money car.
Yeah.
And the kits are like 10 grand.
Yeah. Oh.
This one, $2,800.
And it's one of how many in the world?
One of 5 in the world so far. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the normal stuff.
Casual. Yeah.
Like Joey's parents, Kyle's parents were already in the car world before he was born, with them both working on car restoration.
I've already designed out the interior, and literally my mom and I are going to, because my mom does upholstery for cars.
Oh, nice. That's convenient.
Yeah, because like both my parents restore stuff, so my mom does the upholstery side.
Yeah.
My dad does body work, engine work, stuff like that.
Nice.
Even funnier was the fact that I didn't even have to ask him what his plans for the car were. He simply wanted to tell me and was excited to share his ideas with more people.
Gonna eventually do full interior. I've already designed a full like livery for it, so I've got, it's not just one like color, I'm doing the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so eventually though,
It's a work in progress.
Throughout my time talking with all of these people and going to all of these events, I felt lost in the way I was gonna compare car modification to art. However, the only thing I needed to do to fully understand the relationship between the two was ask. By talking to so many members of the car community, in addition to the 3 I interviewed, I learned that there was always one constant factor throughout our conversations, an unwavering passion for the same thing. For all of us, there doesn't need to be a reason. There doesn't need to be a genre. There doesn't need to be a definition of art, because art is impossible to define. It is up to those who create art to define it for themselves, and if we claim it as so, who's to judge? Throughout my life, I've always loved these things. And being able to fully immerse myself in the community has been nothing but satisfying, and has only solidified my belief that car modification and all other things surrounding these vehicles can and should be considered art. The medium is unorthodox, but the result is extraordinary. And regardless of any definition, art elicits a reaction. And if nothing I've shown today elicits a reaction, I don't know what to say. Other than, you're boring.
Cristo on the beats.